sessions, but we are thankful that so far we are doing great. Everybody's being enthusiastic, and we have a lot more to learn. So I just want to share with you some verses. Isaiah 58:11. And the Lord will guide you continually and satisfy your desire in scorched places and make your bones strong. And you shall be like a watered garden, like a spring of water, whose waters do not fail. Proverbs 3:8. I will be healing to your flesh and refreshment to your bones. And Proverbs 17:22, a joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. Psalm 6:2, be gracious to me, O Lord, for I am languishing. Heal me, O Lord, for my bones are troubled. I've selected all of these verses about the bones because we're going to talk very soon about the immune system. The immune system is housed in our bones. All right, so shall we pray? Dear Holy Father, we thank you so much for leading us up to this time, in gathering us together and preparing us for your work. Help us to learn and to understand and to remember what we have to learn tonight. And be with us with your Holy Spirit so that our vision will be clearer, our mission will be stronger, and you can make us do the work you want us to do, and help us to be your medical missionaries. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Okay, so we will be reviewing our quizzes for now, and from our last classes.
Okay, so we're just going to go over really quick over the answers from last week. The first one, what vitamin acts like a hormone?
D.
D. And so, okay, let's keep going. Vitamin C is fat soluble. True or false?
False.
True.
False.
False. Yeah. The fat soluble vitamins are A, D, E, and K. Yeah, A, D, E, and K. Number 3, what is the best way to ensure adequate nutrition? What's the best way? I'm sure this question could be voiced in the answer could be voiced in different ways, but I'm looking for something specific. What do you think we want? What will be the key?
Colorful food.
Colorful, variety, any of those will be fine, and many of you had different answers, and they were just fine. Number 4, mineral found in Brazil nuts that helps immunity. Selenium. And you want to eat only how many Brazil nuts a day?
3,
2. Okay. And number 5, free radicals help the immune system.
False.
False. Those free radicals actually, they are trying to rob oxygen from the healthy cells and damage them. So you did great. Thank you.
Okay, introduction to the hydrotherapy. The first question was the meaning of hydro and therapy. Let's see. Do you have the question? Oh, yeah. Is the following true? Hydro and therapy equal water and therapy, and that is true. Water has great power for absorbing and releasing heat. That's true. Heat decreases the blood.
96?
That's false, because heat increases the blood. The use of water for disease treatment is relatively new concept. False, because it's been around a very long time. People should become intelligent in the treatment of the sick without the aid of poisonous drugs. True.
All right, we're in part 3 of the quiz for week 1, okay? It's on heating compresses. And the first part was kind of a giveaway. But I'm going to start with question number 5 first, okay? So let's look at question 5 of the heating compresses. As the body warms up a cold, wet compress under wool, the body part where the compress is placed increases blood flow to the skin surface to relieve congestion. This causes an overall increase of blood circulation to the region, which aids in healing. True or false? True, and that is the whole rationale behind heating compresses. You get that? You can understand anything about heating compresses. Now, we're going to be specific about the first 4. What would you do if you had a sore throat? A, B, D, C, or D?
C.
Yeah, a heating compress to the throat, you know, that's pretty easy. If you have a cough, where does your compress go?
Chest.
To your chest, that's where you're coughing, so yes, that makes sense. What about arthritis in your knee?
D.
Okay, heating compress to the knee. That would be D. And the last one is constipation. Number A. So those are very self-explanatory. And there are many more in your book, so be sure and read your books because they give a lot more information. Back to you.
Okay, the immune system is the central to what's going on right now with the COVID. We are born with a natural defense to fight anything, organisms. Fighting disease is a war. God has fortified our bodies to fight infections since we were born. Okay, we call that the innate immune system. You were born with it. Our immune system is housed in the bone marrow. Every cell of the immune system comes from the bone marrow. They come as young cells and they differentiate into different kinds of soldiers, as we say, like WBC.
Is what you're talking about in our notebook?
No. This is an add-on because of the current what's happening. So we just decided. Marisol talked about the food. Sorry, I didn't announce. The Marisol talked about the food, so we said that we will talk about the science of the immune system. Okay, so all our WBCs come from the bone marrow, right? And they differentiate into different kinds of cells. We call them the soldiers that fight the war. So, for example, the neutrophils are many lobes. In a nucleus, many lobes. The lymphocytes has just one nucleus, one circle. The monocytes, macrophages, is a big cell with a big nucleus. Okay? We have also eosinophils, basophils, as part of the Remedies, but they are more into the allergic reactions. All right? So the macrophages are like Pac-Man, you know, Pac-Mans. They just engulf the microbes so fast. And then the neutrophils are like kamikazes, you know, they die. So when we have an infection, what the doctors would ask is the WBC count, because we have to produce a lot of them. A lot of them, like soldiers, they die on the front, you know. So when we have the infection, the WBCs, the macrophages, they also produce substances. And then there is a typical WBC we call the natural killer cells. They are granulated, they have a bigger nucleus, but it's on the side, it's not in the middle. You can see them on the slide on the microscope. They are different, but they kill microorganisms as they encounter them. So the microbes, like I'll talk specifically about the COVID because that's what we're facing right now. So COVID has two things in his favor. It's got we call it the spike protein. it goes into the cell, it targets, and it pokes a hole into the membrane. And then it gets in there, and these viruses are so smart, they make your own cell produce a protein in their favor. We call that the PLPRO, which is papain-like protein. What this does is it makes the virus replicate. And then when it replicates, it makes new variants, new viruses, that it releases and infects other viruses, other cells that we have, and destroy our cells. So what our body does, our natural killer cells, they induce other WBCs, like the T lymphocytes, the natural killer T lymphocytes, to produce interferons. What the interferon does is they prime all these WBCs and those other the macrophages and the natural killer cells so that the virus will be killed. All right? So the natural killer cells, they have their own porins. We call them the porin proteins. What they do is they poke into the cell membrane of the microbe, and then they have granzymes. There's like enzymes that dissolves the membrane and lyse the virus that causes the apoptosis, the death of the virus. And the death of the cells that are infected. So what happens is that the cells that are infected has to be destroyed as well. So that is what's happening. So what happens is that we have the cytokine system. Cytokine system are called antibodies. So they have the interleukin and the tumor necrosis factor, so many interleukins. So what they do, most antibodies are, what they do is they opsonize the virus or the microbe so that the killer cells will kill them. They mark them as enemies, as foreign. And so they're like antibodies, they opsonize, they like mark them. Oh, you are an enemy, I will kill you. So the WBC will identify the virus and the cells that are infected, so they get killed. So we have more defenses on our bodies against the virus. The virus only has two. We have so many. We have the WBC, we have the different kinds of WBC, the killer cells, we have all the antibodies, we have the interleukins, the cytokine. So the question is, why is it that people get so sick? You know, babies, when they get sick often because they don't have the immunity yet. As we grow older, we have memory cells. Once we have encountered anything, our cells remember them. But some people, their memory cells don't have memories. They have dementia, and they couldn't. So we can have immunity twice. We can have an active immunity, or we can have passive immunity. The active immunity is when we get sick of the disease itself, and the passive immunity is the vaccination. So when we have an active immunity, we have a stronger response because the more you get sick, the stronger your response the next time you encounter the virus. So people who have diabetes, hypertension, their immune system is a little bit weak. They couldn't fight. Their WBC is very sluggish. They don't know how to build up the immune response. The other thing is that the immune response could be so strong that it destroys the normal cells. So we call that the cytokine storm or hyperinflammatory or septic that is all over the body. So it's like the immune system is panicking. It's like friendly fire, killing everybody else. So, okay, how do we do this? Zinc, it's like a modulator for inflammation. So when the body puts up a lot of inflammation so that it doesn't know anymore which one to kill and which one not to kill, like normal cells it kills, so the zinc will modulate the inflammation. elderberry, it prevents multiplication or replication of the virus. Vitamin D is like a steroid that decreases the inflammation. Right. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about also is a introduction to a video we're going to share with you at the last day of our presentation. And it's by Dr. Shield from Loma Linda. And he had a very updated story about COVID. So what they're saying now is that with the COVID virus, 80% had the symptoms and they stay home. 20% progresses to hospitalization, okay? These 80% people, they are sent home because they're not sick enough. So there's no treatment for them. Nothing is being addressed to them. So they could go worse and get hospitalized. But the 20%, they get hospitalized. They could die. They could go into intubation. And for the 20% of people, there are 3 drugs that is being used for them. One is remdesivir. One is convalescent plasma. And the other one is steroid, which is dexamethasone. So far, only steroid helps them. Remdesivir, it's still so-so. The mortality rate is okay. Some studies doesn't show that it really works. But for now, only the steroid is working. But it doesn't prevent it 100% that is going to prevent death. The convalescent plasma is a plasma from people who have had the disease, okay? So it takes 10 days to mount an antibody response. And you cannot mount an antibody response if you didn't really have a high fever, okay? So what have they done so far? What we're trying to say is that there's no treatment for the people, the 80% that are waiting to get so sick, right? And this is where our role comes in. There's no treatment. This is because we can utilize our New Start program for this situation, the 80%. So we can increase that 80% to 95%, or maybe no mortality, no hospitalization. So the New Start, the nutrition, is a big part of what we eat to increase our immune system, right? And in Japan, they have studied that they walk these people in the forest, in the air, in fresh air. And they found out with just the fresh air and the sunlight that there is an increase in their natural killer cells with these people. The increase in the immune system. It just improved their immune system. And just once a week, it just increases every day. That's all they need for these people that they have studied. It's just once a week exposure in the forest. It increases their immunity. And the other one is eucalyptus essential oil. And it prevents the progression of the disease. And that is just what Ellen White was, recommending, eucalyptus, the essential oils. And then the other one is vitamin D, which is already sunshine, right, air. And the other one is rest. So for people who have slept, but it is very particular, you have to be resting 2 hours before midnight. Because they said that with the 2 hours before midnight, you get more immunity and the increase in the immune system. And I know for a fact that the 10 o'clock is very important. You should be asleep by 10 o'clock because that is where the growth hormone starts to surge. And the growth hormone is a recharge. It repairs everything. When you are sleeping at 10 o'clock, your body just recharges, your liver, your heart, everything just recharges. And that's due to the growth hormone starts at 10 o'clock and it wanes down at 2 o'clock in the morning. So you should be asleep at least at 9 o'clock. And then you can wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're still well rested rather than go to sleep past midnight. And then even if you prolong your sleep up to 9 o'clock, it doesn't do any good. All right? So the other thing that they have studied is hydrotherapy. By increasing the temperature to 39 degrees, just give these people a hot bath for 3 hours at 39 degrees, the interferon just spikes up. Remember the interferon? The interferon allows the WBC to kill the virus. So for those people, have no mortality at all. No mortality for people who have high use. You need to have your interferon high. So what we're doing actually, the message that we have been learning from the New Start is already supposed to be working for
What's
them.
that temperature again?
39 degrees.
So that,
39 degrees Celsius.
what, and
Oh, Celsius.
Yes.
102.5.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're supposed to bathe in that temperature, is that what you said?
Yeah, this is the study. This is
For
the
how
study
long?
then. We have done this for 3 hours.
3 hours, you stay in that temperature for 3 hours?
Yes. Well, that was the study they did. But for us, it's just 30 minutes of hydrotherapy and it works already.
30 minutes.
Yeah.
Good.
What we have, our steam bath is only 30 minutes. So, well, we're going to be showing you this video at the end of the class, for the 4th session. But this is at least an introduction of what's happening. And we can really, really do something good for, the early stage that we don't have to advance whoever is sick of it into hospitalization. Anything else you want to add, Chuck?
No, appreciate it very much.
Good evening, everybody.
hi.
Good to see you again. And tonight we're going to be talking about a favorite topic of mine, which is charcoal. Maybe 5 years ago, I was out mowing in our yard in Michigan. We've had a lot of mowing to do. It was probably September-ish or so, late summer, early fall. And there was this one hill that you went up and there were pine trees space. So we'd have to go up and then kind of back down and up and back down. So I was going up and I got to the top and I saw this kind of movement there. And it, sometimes you see things and you don't think about it, you just see it. And suddenly I started feeling pokes. And I thought, oh, it's yellow jackets. And I didn't even know what I was doing. I got up there, I put the brake on, I jumped off that riding mower and jumped over a fence. I don't even know how I did that. And I don't think I could normally do that, but my adrenaline was really pumping. And I went dashing across the yard to our house, shouting, yellow jackets, yellow jackets, yellow jackets. And as I got to the house, our son Peter came out to meet me in the laundry room. And he had this little bowl, and he was mixing charcoal and flax, just like that. Just from hearing me say it, he already had this thing, and I was in misery. I had all these bites all over me, and as soon as I got in there, I sat down and started peeling off my layers, and just took this stuff and directly put it right on my skin, wherever there was a bite, and we could see them by then. They were red marks that were coming up. And do you know that, like, instantly, as soon as this cool, nice charcoal went on the skin, it was like instant relief.
Wow.
Amazing. And it lasted for just a little bit, and then it started coming up hot and burning again. So I would just take off the charcoal and I'd reapply.
Oh, wow.
And that is the secret. As soon as you are injured, have any kind of a sting, yellow jacket, hornet, spider, snake, anything. Use this charcoal, put it on top. But don't just think that once you put it on, you're set. You have to take it off, reapply. Whenever it starts burning again, reapply, reapply, reapply. And I went through, I think, a whole bowl of charcoal that day, but you know, that really taught me the relief, a wonderful relief. And charcoal is the best. Now, charcoal has two main functions. It's very, very difficult. I just want you to understand this. You can eat it or you can put it on. Two things, okay? Inside, outside, both are wonderful, and they both work miraculously. And, you know, people used to use a lot more charcoal than they do today. In the outside world, Adventists use quite a bit of charcoal, but still, to this day, if a person goes into the emergency room with an overdose or some kind of a poisoning, what's the first thing they give them? Charcoal, internally, okay? So now we've already had an example of an internal use, drinking or taking pills of charcoal, and external. All right, now charcoal comes in many different forms, and I've got several forms here I'd like to talk about. This is just plain powdered, black powdered activated charcoal. This particular bag came from Wildwood. Wildwood is probably one of our premier places for understanding different kinds of natural remedies, and they know, they put it in a black bag. So they understand it. I got some from Amazon, came in a big silver bag, turned into a mess immediately. But hey, Wildwood understands. They get it in black. Just like, see, I'm wearing black too, because I know what happens. Okay, so that's activated charcoal powder. Then you can get activated charcoal tablets, okay? And in this thing here are 365 tablets. Now, when would you use a tablet instead of the powder? I'm going to show you different applications of them just a minute. But a tablet is good for like a sore throat. You're starting to feel a little bit of a sore throat, you have a little tickle. Start sucking on a charcoal tablet, and it will help soothe it. Or sometimes you have a canker sore in your mouth and it's feeling like it's really kind of miserable. Well, take a tablet and just put it in there. There's just all kinds of things. Diarrhea, you can get some diarrhea, pop 6 of these at one time. That'll stop you up pretty good. Now, after the Sunday session, there was a gentleman that came to me and he said, "Now every time I have charcoal, I get really constipated." And I thought, you know, that's what we're after. We're trying to stop things up. But if you're too constipated, what would you do? Drink more water, okay? So it's just one of those things. You drink more water if you're starting to feel constipated. Take more charcoal if you're running. So that's what you just do. All right, here's another kind of these are capsules. These are roughly twice as much as the tablet. Now the capsules are nice. I prefer myself swallowing a capsule to a tablet. They just seem to go right down really nice. And there are some that are actually veggie caps, so that's really nice too. So, when you're traveling, you go to Mexico, you go to Europe, you go to Thailand. I grew up in Thailand. We had what was called over there Bangkok belly. And all that meant was got diarrhea, okay? And then I found out that you can have Italian belly, or you can have Nicaraguan belly, or you can have any kind of belly, okay? I just didn't know that as a child. But this is gold on a trip, okay? So take either pills or charcoal. If you're really brave, you can take some powder, but be careful because it can explode in your suitcase, and oh my, I don't even want to think of the mess. All right, but this is a really convenient size if you're going to travel, and I keep filling this one up because it's just a really convenient size for if I'm on the road, and it has a nice fitting lid. There are other things that charcoal are good for. I'm going to give you an internet address, so write this down. It's not in your notes. Charcoalhouse.com. Charcoalhouse.com has all of these kinds of things. Or guess what? Amazon has them too. You know, if you're a Prime member, you can have it here to your house in 2 days. But Charcoal House has a lot of education with their materials, and they have a really good book, which I seem to have left home tonight. It's called Charcoal Remedies, and it's excellent. And so here is another use. The Charcoal House deodorizer is called Nonsense, N-O-N-S-C-E-N-T-S, okay? That's good for if you have a refrigerator that doesn't smell so good, or your car doesn't smell so good, or your shoes don't smell really good, okay? You can stick these things in, and this is here, it just removes the odor or freshens up whatever you want to freshen up, okay? It says removal of formaldehyde, absorption odor, adjust air humidity, okay? So all of those things. Now, let's talk a minute about the property of charcoal. Why is charcoal such a miracle commodity? It's because it adsorbs. It's not absorbed, it's adsorbed. That means it just collects and collects and collects. You know, if it's trying to go after odors, it collects that. If it's going after water, if it's going after anything, it just absorbs, but we call it, instead of absorbing, we call it adsorbing, okay? Has many, many faces on the activated charcoal so that it just does a terrific job of doing that. Now, tonight we are going to look at several ways we can use charcoal. I have in this jar here charcoal. My son has, the same one who came to the door with that, has a condition known as ankylosing spondylitis. It's a very severe form of arthritis. And there was a period of his life that every single day he took a charcoal bath. That means he would get completely up to his neck, his whole body in a bathtub of charcoal. Now, it was not thick, it was just thin, but he found terrific relief from pain by being in this charcoal bath. And so that is a really, really good thing. You can soak your arm, you can soak a leg, you can soak your body. Don't soak your head, okay? But all these different parts you can soak in a charcoal bath. Now, he learned a secret that I'm going to pass on to you, and that is, if you're going to put charcoal in a bath or in a tub, put it in a jar first and mix it up. So let me show you here what we're going to do. Now, charcoal, it smokes. I don't know how else to say it, but can you see the smoke coming up off of this? Now, if you're doing this in a bath, you can imagine the mess it makes, the smoking going everywhere. Right here, you can kind of control that. And I'm doing it very tightly. Then you just shake it. And this shakes it. And then you're not having lumps in your bath or anything like that. It shakes it up really, really well. And then you pour it into your bath. And with your leg or your arm, you just swirl it around and it will just come right into your whole bath. You can use between a half a cup or a cup of charcoal per one tub, depending on how deep you like your water, okay? If you like a real deep bath, I would go for 3/4 to a cup. If you like a shallower bath, or for a child, half cup would be sufficient. But, see this water right here? You know what they call this? Charcoal water, yes. That's true. What else? It's called a charcoal slurry, okay? And this is good in itself, without even putting it into the bath, for all kinds of things. Okay, you've got the diarrhea that's good for, if you've got all kinds of digestion issues, there's all kinds of things, poisonings. It's just like the miracle drink. You say, ooh, that looks awful. I don't think I can handle that. Well, then take a pill, okay? It does the same thing, but this, actually when you start to drink it, you don't even notice it. It's just like drinking water, and you don't notice that your mouth is turning all black. Everybody else sees the mouth turning black. And you don't notice that as you're drinking it down. But even, there's something really important here. If you want, you can let it sit for a while, and as it sits, it will settle. But it's never going to settle 100%. And so you can drink the kind of the gray water that's on the top, and that's almost as effective as just drinking it down black. Okay? So that's all different ways you can use the slurry here. And it's really, really an important thing to understand. So you can put it in the water for soaking your arms, soaking your body, or you can drink it, and all are very good. Now, with children, very hard to get them to drink something like that. You know, they look at that and they say, oh, I don't know, mommy, please, you know. But I'll tell you what works. You get a little bowl of applesauce, and you put in a teaspoon of charcoal in that, and you just give it to them. And if they don't taste the charcoal, but they're getting the benefits of the charcoal. My grandchildren even ask for black applesauce. So if you start them young, then they know that it's really good when they're sick. Then they can use black applesauce. It's a really good thing to know. Okay, so now we've talked about the putting it on for snake bites. Let's talk a minute more about the snake bite thing. Snake bites can be really, really dangerous. As we know as a church, we had somebody that really was very, very serious. Ideally, if you have access, and even when you're hiking, it's really good to carry some of these first aid things with you that you can break out if you need it. But say you're at home and you get, then immediately put your arm, let's say you got a bit on your arm, put your arm in as deep a water as you can do with just water with charcoal, all right? Soak that whole arm for just a long time. Then you take it out, change the water, change the charcoal, put it back in, okay? That is probably the best thing you can do right there, is to draw it out. It just pulls out all those toxins and all those terrible things. So the soap but then, besides that, then you want to put on a poultice, and that's what we're gonna do next. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Hot or cold water?
Hot or cold or
It
water?
doesn't matter, okay? Just make it comfortable. My son, when he used to do his baths, he would do hot water, okay? But if you want it cold, if that's all you have available,
I
it's
was wondering
fine.
about the poison part.
With the snake bite.
It doesn't, as far as I know, it doesn't matter. Have you ever heard that it matters? I don't think it matters. I've never heard that it matters, so. You heard what?
I'm just saying, if you think about the fact that hot water dilates, moving the blood, moving the toxins more, so then you kind of think, well, maybe you want cold because it constricts, and maybe the poison won't move as much through your body. That's why the question.
I don't know, I haven't heard on that, you know. But as far as I know, just water will do it, water with charcoal. All right, so we're going to talk about making a poultice.
Laura,
Yes?
did you want to mention about the top of the story water and baby bottles?
Oh, yes, okay. So after this is settled down, settled down, it's gray, but there are fewer particles, and you can put that into a bottle and give it to a baby that has diarrhea or some other issue. But if you put it in this strong, black, like this, it will for sure clog your nipple. But, yeah, so thank you. That's a really good point. All right, so we're going to try to make a poultice here. Poultices are really helpful because you cannot always have your arm in water or your body in water or whatever. You kind of shrivel up. Whereas you can put a poultice on, you can sleep with it, you can put a long sleeve shirt on, go to town, whatever you want to do. All right, so we are first of all going to put in some charcoal. See all that smoke going up there? And you're going to see more, so watch for it here. Charcoal smoke. That stuff is the bane of my life. All right? Now you say, how much did you put in? Did you put in a cup? Did you put in a half a cup? You put in enough. Okay? You don't need to be precise in this. I know that I'm going to make a poultice about this big, okay? And so I'm going to have enough. Now, I could just add the water and make it a very thick charcoal, but what happens is the charcoal will dry and start flaking and be a mess much faster. So somebody invented adding flaxseed to charcoal, okay? Now you can, if you don't have flaxseed and you happen to have some cornstarch, that works too, okay? So I'm just adding. Like I say, I'm not measuring, I'm just doing whatever. Yes, ma'am?
I tried sealing the works really well.
What was that?
Psyllium husk.
Sealing husk works perfect.
Ah, I hadn't heard of using that. Yeah? If you happen to have some psyllium husks on your shelf, that's great. All right. Now, each one of you are going to make a poultice tonight, and you are going to be making it out of a sanitary napkin. Don't laugh, okay? This is one of the best inventions ever. All right? The reason why is because this is flat, and if you just lift the top layer off, and this is what you're all going to be doing at your stations in a few minutes here. If you lift the top layer off, you have a nice quilted surface to put your paste on there. Then you put the top back on and tape around three sides. and you have a perfect small poultice that you can put on your arm, on your leg, on anything, okay? This would be perfect. But let's say you've got abdominal problems and you really want to get rid of a stomach ache. Let's try something a little bigger. And what I like to use is a chuck. This is what we call a chuck. I don't know where it got that name, but it did. And there are chucks and there are chucks.
Thank you. That's what you should tell me.
All right. Most chucks are like this. And they are made with this fluffy cotton between. And if you tear them, they tear apart and cotton goes every which way. That's not the kind you want. And it's hard. This is the way most of the chucks are made, okay? But what you want to do is you want to look for a chuck that is quilted. And the quilted ones, you can just lift up and you have this light material on top and quilted on the bottom. And then when you put your charcoal and your flax here, then you can put this on and it works just perfectly. The problem is finding quilted chucks, okay? It's really kind of hard to find. I ordered some from Walmart pickup and I was able to get this. And this is not even the best kind. I found better ones before, but this is the best I could find here. Does everybody understand the difference between quilted and just cotton? Okay, here I'll show you the brand that I happen to be able to find here in Tennessee. See how it says premium quilted underpad? And that's the kind you can get here. If I find a better kind, I'll let you know, but this is the best I could find right now.
Laurel,
Yes.
puppy pee pads are all quilted.
They are?
You can go into the pet division of Walmart and buy those. They're smaller than this, they're
Yeah.
24, but they're all quilted, just like.
Perfect. And do you know if you can lift the top layer off
Yes,
like that?
yes.
Well, see, there we go. We're all headed for Walmart to find pet pee pads. Okay. All right, so you can see that I've cut off a section already out of this one. Today I made a pile of these and sent them to a friend by mail. And that shouldn't use this under it. You can use the other side so it doesn't mess up your counter so badly. And I think I'm just going to make this size. That will make it easy for us here. Okay, so once you have cut it, you can lift the top and it will lift on 3 sides, okay? Leave one side connected, the other. You can make it out of the center if you like. It works too, but it's just harder. Now, see this here? This is what I don't like about these. So I'm looking forward to those pee pads. All right, so we are making our messy. I'm going to add the rest of this here. So we can have. Okay, and you just mix and mix and mix till it's smooth and about the consistency, I say, of toothpaste, okay? Now, when you're working with it, this is about the right consistency.
That's the right consistency?
That's a little thick. I'm going to add just a little more water.
Do you
want to mention, even though you didn't measure it, the ratio of flaxseed and charcoal?
Yeah, I usually do flaxseed, maybe 1/3 of the amount of the charcoal. But you want to make sure that you get enough charcoal, because that's what you're really working on. Okay, so you can see here, so that would be 1 part.
No, that's not ground flaxseed, is
It
it?
is ground.
Oh, it's ground.
It is ground, okay? Whole flaxseed would be much more grainy. This is
I couldn't tell.
flaxseed. Now, normally, when we're talking about flaxseed to eat, we want it ground too, okay? I love whole flaxseed in my bread, you know, I think that's much better than ground. But for the omega-3s and that kind of thing, you want it ground, and you want it ground and eaten today. You don't just grind it and put it on your shelf, because it oxidizes. Yes, you can put it in the freezer.
That's what I've done.
Yeah, it's better than just shelf, but still the best is just to do it. But I put it in the refrigerator or freezer too, and I just can't. So, okay, so you understand all this here? I'm not trying to neglect you over there. Okay, so now we're going to put this out on this poultice, and you put a nice black mass down. Some people like to use a big spoon, or I've even seen a very large spatula used to put it to all the corners. Can you see what I'm doing, or am I working behind all the pans here? Compress on their back, and you take this off after the night, and it smells like urine, because it has taken so much of the toxins out. You can use it for liver diseases, kidney diseases. It's just like this miracle stuff. All right, so what I'm trying to do here is take it right to the edge, all the way around. Then I bring this cloth over the top, and then use masking tape. This is a great use for masking tape. And by the way, the best way to do it is to put the tape on before you put the charcoal. It just works better that way. And I should have done it that way, but I didn't remember to do that. So you'll get to watch me. Okay, so lay it down, lay your tape down, and then just pick up your, but particularly when you're making huge ones, the tape is hard to put on, so do it first. Okay, so I'm just putting it on the back, flipping it over, just like that, making it very nice and neat. Now, the reason why I say, what did you mean when you asked about how long is it good for, is because you could also ask the question, how long will this last before it goes bad? And how long can I store it before using it? And the answer is, you can use it. I'm being a little challenged here to talk and do this at the same time. You can use it, if you're not going to use it today, then put it in the refrigerator, okay? The flaxseed is your issue. The charcoal, it'll last forever, no problem. But the flaxseed will go rancid. And so it is important to keep it refrigerated. We went to a conditioning center at Battle Creek a while back, and every night they would give their patients one of these for the front and for the back. And they go to bed every night with these huge, big poultices like this. At the end of the day, after hearing all the lectures, they'd send you home with these poultices done just the way I'm teaching you right now. And we were told to put things in the refrigerator till we were ready to put it on. Okay, so now you can see here how it is. It just all contained in this nice little
Is that
package.
the side that you put on toward your skin?
That's correct. The other side is plastic, so nothing would come through. This would be the side you put on. So in order to store it, I would just fold it in half like that, put it in a Ziploc bag right into the refrigerator. Are there any questions about making poultices?
You can make that without flaxseed then, correct?
You can.
Okay. Then it would last, we didn't worry about it going bad.
Well, it's just that with the flaxseed, it makes it more malleable and more smooth and all that. If you just do straight charcoal, it's just very hard and cakey, and it would probably dry out before it even gets put on you. That's what it, yes, sir?
So then the only purpose of the flaxseed is to make it smoother so it's easier?
Yeah, it makes it kind of like Jell-O, okay? Makes it easier to smooth, that kind of thing, yes?
I have a little bit of a silly question, I think.
Let me just bring this around so everybody can hear you.
Oh. I had some classmates who we were sharing some problems that they were having, and I can't even remember what it was now, and I suggested that they take charcoal. And they were like, no, we can't take charcoal, they'll absorb all our nutrients. So I was wondering, have you heard anything about that? Because that's not.
It does not absorb nutrients, however, it does absorb medications.
Right.
What if you're taking supplements?
Supplements, I think you're okay still doing that, all right? I had a very sad situation on my hands. Our daughter was 15 months old, and we were in Korea, and she contracted tuberculous meningitis while we were there. Only we didn't know the diagnosis at the time. Her fever was just like 105, and she was just this tiny little baby. And so I took her to the doctor, and the doctor injected her and gave her oral antibiotics. We thought it was still ear and throat. We didn't know yet it was meningitis. And I was such a conscientious mother. I did all my natural remedies alongside of all the other things. But I did not know that charcoal would take up all the antibiotics. And so she gave her all these high-powered antibiotics. She said, tomorrow you'll be better. Came back and she was worse. And that's because the charcoal that I was so faithfully giving my child was absorbing all those. Well, it turned out the Lord really, really helped my stupidity in this, because the antibiotics she was taking were not effective for the meningitis anyway. And so it was okay that they were absorbed. But I'm telling you this story so that you understand that if you are taking some sort of medication that is really important, don't do charcoal internally while you're doing that. Yes, in the back. Just a minute, I'll make my back so everybody can hear.
It will absorb the antibiotics, but it will not absorb garlic. And garlic is a very heavy antibiotic naturally. And I noticed that charcoal will not absorb anything that is normal to the body.
There you go. Thank you very much, Jeannie.
Now, I've also heard that you couldn't take it within 2 hours. If you wait 2 hours, then you can go ahead and take your medication.
Okay, there's a nurse telling us 2 hours is all right.
Well, I think Dr. Thrash used to tell us
that. Okay. And Dr. Evans was saying 6 hours was that you'd be safe on that. So now we have talked about the slurry water, we talked about poultices, and we've talked about all these things. I've got here some commercial products. If you are rich and you don't want to bother with the mess of all this charcoal, they have it all made up for you in charcoal patches. All you have to do is open this bag and slap it on. Okay? Wonderful for travel. Really a good thing. But each one of them are like $8. So, like I say, good for travel, but you're not going to use it every day. And
Did they last longer? Like, could you have that on your shelf for an
I
emergency?
keep it in my refrigerator at all times. These two, I've had them
Where did you get them?
Wow. Okay, so, but you can get them other places. They actually manufactured these at Andrews, and so we knew one of the men that worked in it, and he used to give us all these scraps. And I tell you, they're really, really nice to have on hand. And my son used to wind them around him, and was really good. All right, I would like Phoebe to come up and tell you about some of her adventures with charcoal. And Chuck has a story too that he can share.
He will share it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, starting out, I guess, with slurry water. We had a 16-month-old that got diarrhea and vomiting in January, which is very common. And I had had experiences with that when I worked in pediatrics, and it really scared me. And then Chuck was taking public health classes at Loma Linda, and Dr. Marjorie Baldwin was there, and she got so bad, we were just next to taking her to the big hospital, which we lived in the shadow of. Anyway, Dr. Marjorie walked me through and helped me and prayed with us. And she said, make the slurry water, then give her a teaspoon every 10 minutes, because we were down to going if we didn't get some results soon. And I did that. I don't remember how many 10 minutes went by, but I know I prayed every one of them. And she turned around and started taking the liquid and not having the vomiting and not having the diarrhea. And then another experience about the poultice, where I started out, I didn't know what happened on a Sunday morning. We went out to the garden. But before I got out there, I noticed when I put my shoe on that I had a red spot on top of my foot. It must have happened sometime before that, maybe the night before or something. But I put a charcoal tablet just on a Band-Aid wet and put it on my foot and, worked around in the garden for a while. And then later on in the day, I noticed, well, it's redder, it's bigger, red. Well, I just made charcoal poultice, and I put a bigger patch on there, and then a bigger patch. But by the next day, my whole ankle was swollen, and it was all bubbly where I'd had the original red spot. And we were at Itchy Pines at the time, so of course, by the time my ankle got swollen, I said, I better ask Dr. Agatha what's wrong. So she came by when she was able to, and she'd been in town, that's why she had come. Anyway, she said, oh, that's a brown recluse. Well, it was on the top of my foot, so that there wasn't much flesh there, and it was just eating up all the tissue. But she said, you need to pack your whole foot, whatever's swollen, in charcoal. So I did, starting right then, and it actually stopped it from going any further, but it was coming up over my ankle. But, that started on a Sunday morning, but by Sabbath, I had my shoes back on, and it was down, and I have no scar. Of course, there's not a lot. Brown recluse can really go deep into tissue, like if it's on your thigh or something. So that's not good. And the other thing that Chuck was going to tell about, when we got to Africa, our son decided by having a dog book, because we hadn't had dogs or anything, and they wanted pets. We said, well, when we get to Zambia, we'll get some pets. Well, he wanted a golden lab.
Well, they're not easy to find, but anyway, the Lord did the miracle, saved this dog, and we got the puppy. And so he was just our son's joy, and they would sit on the porch, and he would put his arm around the dog and talk to him and stuff like that. But he was still small. And then something happened. He either ate something poisonous or somebody poisoned him, because he got this diarrhea and vomiting like the baby. And he would just lay there, you know, this green coming out of his mouth and coming out of his bottom, terrible. And I got the idea to use a bulb syringe. You know what I mean by a bulb syringe? It will soak up. So I made slurry water, and I don't know how slurry it was. It might have been more like this, really black. But I put it in his rectum, just what the bulb syringe would hold, and then I would just wait a while and put more in. I didn't have to do that very many times, but the dog was just limp as a rag. And after 2 or 3 applications of that, his tail was going thump, thump, thump. And by the next day, you know how children are. Well, dogs are the same. Well, they're outside running around, wagging their tail. And the doctor had told us, well, he didn't know what to do. Yeah, he's probably just going to die. He's poisoned, or somebody poisoned him. Well, he saw the puppy running around, and he, oh, what happened? So we were glad to tell him. I don't know if he would use it, but I think it's a good idea.
So you can see some of the really, really important things. Another thing that you can always remember is that it's good for all kinds of infections. All right, so not only bites, but infections. My daughter used to get earaches all the time. So that was one of her things. And so we would make a small, about the size of the poultice that you're going to make in our group, about that size. Put it on the ear, and then ace bandages. So she just had this kind of ace bandage helmet on. And by morning, she wouldn't have her earache anymore. Okay? It's just really, really, really helpful. So charcoal, I can't say enough good things about charcoal. The only thing I would say is watch it with medication. Otherwise, you will truly enjoy using charcoal. Now, at your table, we're going to divide up into 4. Everybody's going to get a lab sheet like this that tells you directions of what you should be doing. All right? The first thing is to suck on a charcoal tablet. There will be 1 tablet in a little plastic bag, and I promise you, I did not touch these. I picked them up with special, clean, sterilized tweezers, put them in all these bags. And this is important so that you can just kind of get a neutral taste for what they are. And your instructors will look at you and see if you have a black tongue, and they'll know what it is. Okay. Number 2 is to prepare the charcoal slurry. There's 1 bottle that all of you will prepare at the tables there. It's a small bottle, and it already will have the charcoal in it. You'll just have to add the water, shake it up, okay? And then with that charcoal slurry, you're going to put it into the bigger bucket. Each of the tables has a bucket, and you'll put the prepared slurry into the bucket and pour the rest of the water in there, and one of you will decide that you would like to sacrifice for the rest of the group and have a black hand. And so that will be and because you are sacrificial and are willing to do that, the rest of the people at your table will be willing to get their checked off, okay? So that will be the charcoal soak. The other thing is a charcoal poultice, and I already explained with this napkin how you pull it back, and everybody will have a Dixie cup get a Dixie cup, there will be a spoon. Everybody will get a little bit, you can put in like 1 tablespoon of charcoal and maybe 1/3 of a tablespoon, half a spoonful of flaxseed, it's all there. And then a little bit of water, mix, 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 mix. Pour it out onto your little poultice, tape it around, and everybody will have a poultice and have the experience of doing that, okay? And all the instructors will be there to help answer questions, or if you have any other questions, then you can talk to them.
Okay. So I think we're ready to start dividing up. Just before we divide up, I'll mention one other experience too. We had one of our general conference leaders one time when we were training at UC Pines some years ago that had a 20-year history of migraine headaches. And he came to UC Pines out of desperation. He finally had some time off. And we would make a charcoal poultice for his head every night and put it all over the head. We'd use an ace bandage to kind of surround the edges of it and then put on kind of a ski cap to sleep. And he would do that each night and sleep with that. And after just a few days, his migraine stopped. I'll give you just a second. He was with us about 3 weeks. And the other combination is he's getting regular exercise. But I saw his wife some years later in Russia. And she said it just changed his whole life because once he overcame the regularity of those migraines, he rarely ever had them again. I don't know that it works that way all the time for everybody, but it sure worked for him.
So he just put the poultice on his head?
Yeah, made the poultice, we spread it, and put it down on his head, like you have this one here. And probably about this size would have been just right. Now we go over the head, and then an ace around the edge of it, and then a ski cap over that.
Okay, well, that's...
Do you have a comment?
Well, I have a question. Did he have a full head of hair? I mean, I'm not being facetious.
No.
I'm wondering if it would still do the same kind of job with a full head of hair.
He was like me, moderate. But yes, even with a full head of hair, charcoal is amazing. I mean, when you have an ear infection, I mentioned that in yesterday's class, I had the only ear infection I ever had. And you don't have to put the charcoal in the ear, that would be rather problematic. We filled a sock with charcoal, put it on the outside of the ear, and then ace bandaged that on and slept with it at night. That next morning, and I had a headache with that, which I rarely ever get. The headache went away right away, and then I slept with the poultice very well that night. Got up in the morning, this smells. I was just so surprised. But then, as soon as that was off that next day, the headache came back, and I knew it wasn't over. So I had to do 2 or 3 days like that each night, and it was gone. It was all taken care of.
Okay, very
All right,
good.
and my time's going.
Okay, just one thing, it makes a mess, all right? So I have a little secret for you. Shout works well to take it out, spray shout on it. Or this special formula that Linda King made up, 2 tablespoons of Dawn, 2 tablespoons of baking soda, and 2 tablespoons of hydrogen peroxide, okay? So 2, 2, 2, and it works really well at taking out charcoal stains. If you're just washing your hands, just Dawn works, or any kind of soap works. But you want to treat it before you wash, okay? So put it directly on the stain and then into your washer and it'll be fine. All right, please light up everybody.
right, we can all get everybody back together?
Thanks for the supper.
Yeah, okay. Charcoal snack. All right.
It doesn't taste bad.
We're going to turn to, in your notebooks, page 23, and that's the Russian steam bath. I want to just mention a couple of points, and I'm going to show you how the unit works that we're talking about, that we'll be using tonight. But let's go back in your book and just notice the a couple of things here, the physiological effects by using the heating effect by causing profuse sweating. You see the various points in there as well. Now you notice the little drawing there on the right side of the chair. We just want to take a moment to mention that, and that is, you don't have to have a commercial or purchase kit in order to do a steam bath. That's nice, because you never know. Maybe you're on a vacation, you're visiting a relative and they're sick, and you don't have some of your own equipment. But you can easily take the chair, take something that boils so you can make steam, take a sheet to put over them, and maybe an old shower curtain to keep it, and a blanket. All those details are expanded right here in the book for you to explain how to do it. And if you go on to the next page, page 24, there's lots of details of how to proceed with the procedure. In our particular case, because now these portable units are so readily available and so inexpensive, we're going to use that for convenience sake rather than making the homemade one. These are available, of course, you know where they make them in China, but it's a tremendous investment for about $100. And we'll be using 2 of those. We'll have half of you go to this side and half of you go over this side. And we'll give a treatment to, Todd will be over here, Dave will be over here. And we'll help give them a treatment. So we'll participate in that in just a moment. I wanted to show you the unit itself now. So it comes packed in this box. Well, once it's out, it's a bit challenging to get it all back in there, I can tell you. So what we tend to do with ours is once we're done with it, we wiped it out, we sanitized it, you just spray some Lysol on it and wipe it down. I like to put it out in the sunshine on a sunny day, or in any case, if it's not sunny, I just want to make sure it's thoroughly dry before I pack it away. And then I just take a large trash bag and slip over this, and I have my pipes inside of it and everything. And I like that idea anyway, because I can be ready to give Phoebe a treatment, or she me, in 5 minutes, because it's just already open here. So I'm going to go ahead now and just show you a little bit about what's involved. So it comes built with these sturdy support wires, but it doesn't have built-in support posts that fold, which is fine, but you get 8 little pipes with it. So these pipes come like this, and they have 4 connectors to put them into one piece. We're going to go ahead and put 3 of the 4 units together, and not the last one, because that's put on after the person gets in. Then it has these seams on key places with a Velcro at the end, so that you can insert the pipe through it like that and work it down through, and that gives you the support from the top of the kit. Then I'm going to flip it forward and get the one at the bottom that holds it out. And you see it doesn't take very long, and it's not a complicated process to do that. So now we have 2 of them on. Now the bottom's going to need one also. And we'll go ahead and put this one on. I didn't think to ask you to time it, but I think 5 minutes will get us going, just to have it here. Okay, now we have the sides, and we're ready. This goes here afterward, and we zip up to it, and the pipe will be actually over it. And the person inside can zip it as well. It's a two-way zipper as far as the pull is concerned. And we put it right up to their neck. So that's all I need to show you right now. The person inside can get out and reach something. They have their drink a bottle of water here. Of course, you wouldn't want to use your cell phone, would you? Something like that. They didn't say what you could or couldn't do with it, but anyway, that's what is there. Isn't that beautiful? So simple. It's easy to put up.
Are you on a stool or something inside?
You're going to have the stool. You'll see that now. We'll go to the. We'll break.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't think.
So if we can take this half from Arnoldo over here on this side, and the rest of you could go over there, it'll give us a little bit more smaller group that we can work with. We'll move this over. Oh, I'm sorry, one more thing on here, or I can go over it in your individual group, but I'd like to show you. Normally, we thought it would save time to go ahead and have this hot today. This takes about 10 minutes. This is the unit that comes with it also, but I'll unplug it now. We're going to move it. This is the cooker, and once you put the water in it, maybe about a quart of water, I usually just fill it up about 2/3 full. Once you put the water in it and plug it in and turn it on, it's going to take about 10 minutes to boil that water till steam's coming. So if you're giving a treatment to someone and not feeling well, you don't want to put them in the cabinet and then start this and have them sit there cold. So you want to get it going first while you get everything ready to do your treatment. Now, there's an on and off. You certainly turn it off. There's 3 buttons here, soft buttons. You turn it on, and you also, in the middle button, gives how much time. And it will go for 60 minutes. And if you have it 2/3 full, it won't run out of water, it won't boil it out. I usually go ahead and bump it up to the 60, even though I'm not going to keep somebody in there 60 minutes. But I need at least 10 minutes to get it hot, so they'll be down at 40, 50 or so. I just want to make sure it doesn't turn off while I'm doing my treatment. I aim, the book says 15 to 20 minutes. I like the 25-minute myself. I feel comfortable with it as long as the head is cool. But it depends. Some people feel the heat a lot quicker. Then on the left side is your you might say your burner control, low and medium and high. And I don't know what the P stands for in China, but anyway, they call it P1, P2, P3, up to 9. So when I start on the highest reading because I want to get it hot. So I start on P9 and get it boiling until I have steam coming. Then when as the person gets into it, or just before then, I bump it down to 7. After they've been in there 5 or 10 minutes, I'm checking how they're doing. I usually end up bringing it down to about 5 and using 5 for the rest of the treatment. If they say, hey, I could like more, bump it back up a bit. But I don't do anything on 9 the whole time. Okay. So if you there's not an exact pattern to how to do it. You need to keep checking with the person how they're doing, how they're feeling. The person will tolerate this treatment a lot better and a lot longer if you're very careful to assist them with keeping the neck and the head cool. So you'll see me doing that when we give the treatment. That way, it just takes the pressure off. If you're just hot, and you're hot everywhere, you want out of there quickly. But this way, it makes it a lot more enjoyable. And it's a nice treatment. I enjoy the treatments. I feel really good afterward. The book says the best way to finish any of these hydro treatments is to rest afterwards. They recommend several ways of doing it. This is not my favorite way of doing it, but it's one way. So you get done, you're hot and you're sweaty, and you're not feeling well either. You put a sheet on your bed and you go lay down in the sheet. You do a quick cold vent friction with the cold water. You go ahead and wipe down this real quickly, dry off, but then lay down. You're going to still be sweating, so that's why you want to be on the sheet. Wrap up in the sheet and don't get cold. The other thing, the way I prefer to do it, is I go straight from this to the shower and just go into a cold shower. It feels wonderful. You get cooked, you don't need to worry about being a pansy about it. Just get in there and enjoy it, and it's just very refreshing. And then The next thing is dry off and do what?
Rest.
You should rest, 30 minutes to an hour. The shower, it could be 5 minutes, just where you feel like you're kind of back to normal on your own personal temperature. And maybe after the cold for 30 seconds or a minute, you say, well, I'm just going to warm it up a little bit and soak down and clean up. You could do that as well. So that's not critical once you've had the treatment. Okay, we're going to switch over there then. Would someone like to carry this over for me? And I'll bring this. Oh, you ready to go?